الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وطبيب قلوبنا الرسول الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Once a man approached the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam and he asked him for an advice. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said, "La taghdab, don't be angry." He asked him the question again. Rasulullah repeated, "La taghdab, don't be angry." Then Rasulullah said, "ليس الشديد بالصرعة إنما الشديد الذي يملك نفسه عند الغضب." He is not strong and powerful who throws people down. The one who is strong and powerful is the one who withholds himself from anger. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created man with different psychological emotions. Man feels love and hate, fear and anger, so on and so forth. Each emotion has its use depending on the condition and circumstance that a man goes through. Each emotion has benefits, can give profits to a human being if it is used correctly. At the same time, these emotions can also be a grave danger and cause so much harm, not only to the people who are being affected by it, but it can also backfire to the man himself. So, emotions is something that, if it's played correctly, then it will be very beneficial. However, if it's not played correctly, then there can be a lot of issues. For instance, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made fear. This is an emotion that everyone has. Fear has a lot of benefits. If there was no fear, then one would not protect himself or his family when there is danger. Fear can encourage a person to protect himself. Also, fear can make someone stay away from any evil or crime that he is able to do. Fear can also create a good and noble human being, that fear. So it's a good way for a man to stay away from corruption and evil. Fear from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means that the person will not commit any sins and will not commit any evil. It means that person will be on the right path. So that emotion of fear can lead a person to be on as-sirat al-mustaqim, on the straight path, on the right path. As long as it does not reach to the stage of cowardice. Because there's a difference between fear, khawf, and between jubun, cowardice. Fear can make a person a good person. However, cowardice is something that is bad. A person who is coward means he's controlled by his weakness. He's controlled by his The word is jubun, fear. His weakness, his dhul, his humiliation. So one would not be able to confront oppression or injustice when that happens, if a person is coward. However, fear is not something that is bad by itself. So it really depends on how one uses emotions. One can use it in a good way and he will be on the right path, or one uses it in a wrong manner and he won't be in the best way. So anger is an emotion that exists in the human soul. It's not something that we do not have. Everyone has it. And it is very useful to keep a person away from cowardice. Now we talked about fear, and if one is controlled by weakness, he would be a coward. Anger, which usually is presented in the negative way, is a good counterbalance for cowardice. So one can stay away from cowardice by using anger correctly. Also, anger can also be one of the worst or one of the biggest liabilities that a person might have. This same anger that is a good counterbalance to cowardice can also be the biggest liability by inflicting harm on others, and it also backfires on oneself. It can affect on building self-esteem, and it can also affect family, social, friend relationships, and it can also affect one's own health. So anger is one of the conditions of the souls. There are 3 stages for anger. The first stage is the state of excess. And this is defined by what puts person outside the bounds of Islam, outside the bound of religion and its laws. State of excess. And there is also the state of deficiency, which is defined as the state in which one fails to take violent action when it is needed, when it is necessary. For example, self-defense. And the third state is the state of moderation, in which anger is simulated in appropriate and permissible circumstances. So it is clear that the first and the second state is one of the, or are the vices of the soul, one of the diseases of the soul. And the third one is actually something that one should aim to, something that's amongst the ethical virtues that is produced by courage. Inshallah, we'll discuss these 3 states after Allah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, when anger is in the state of excess, it is called foolhardiness. Foolhardiness is the disease of the power of anger. This power that is within each one of us. Foolhardiness is a disease of the power of anger. It means that it puts a person, or it makes a person so reckless that he would enter into many dangerous and harmful situations, despite the warning of both reason and religion. The Holy Quran clearly forbids foolhardiness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ, and cast not yourselves by your own hands to destruction. In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 195. Excessive anger is a fatal disease, which can be considered as a temporary madness. When it cools down, immediately you will see the person who had it will be in the state of remorse and regret, and in the state of repentance. And that state of remorse and regret is the healthy condition following the state of excessive anger. Excessive anger. So excessive anger is a secret weapon for man to enter into the house of evils. It destructs many noble qualities. It snatches away wisdom from a man. And this man can become a violent and brute beast that lacks any sense. It is narrated that our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq,
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali
he
Muhammad.
said, Al-ghadab miftahu kulli shar. Anger is the door to every evil. And the Imam is talking about anger in the state of excess. Anger in the state of excess, excessive anger. Anger is a spark of fire that is always bursting. It is also a situation or a condition that can mess up one's iman. It can spoil one's iman and one's faith. For Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib,
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
he said, Al-ghadabu yufsidu al-iman kama yufsidu al-khal al-asal. Anger destroys iman just as vinegar spoils honey. So anger is a strong feeling that is caused by extreme displeasure and hostility. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam also said, Al-hiddatu darbun min al-junun, لأن صاحبها يندم فإن لم يندم فجنونه مستحكم. He says anger is a stroke of madness. So when we say excessive anger is temporary madness, it's not words that come from me. These are the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Anger is a stroke of madness, since the afflicted will later on feel remorse and regrets. If someone does not feel remorse after anger, then madness has become fixed in himself. He also says, إِيَّاكَ وَالْغَضَبْ فَأَوَّلُهُ جُنُونَ وَآخِرُهُ نَدَمْ. Protect yourself from anger. Its beginning is insanity and it ends with remorse and regret. So why would one put himself in a situation where he or she will feel deep regret? Why would a mu'min be in a place where he or she will feel remorse after that? This action can lead to harming, humiliating, hurting a believer, hurting a mu'min and a mu'minah. And in one of the previous lectures, we mentioned how bad it is, or how major of a crime it is to hurt and humiliate a believer. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, it is narrated that he said that Almighty Allah has said, لِيَأْذَنَ بِحَرْبٍ مِّنِّي مَنْ آذَى عَبْدِيَ الْمُؤْمِنِ. One who hurts my believing slave has actually declared war against me. وَلْيَأْمَنْ غَضَبِي مَنْ أَكْرَمَ عَبْدِيَ الْمُؤْمِنِ. And one who dishonors my believing servant remains safe from my anger. So excessive anger can lead to the anger, to the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why it is something that is very necessary to look into, to pay attention to. So one would ask, okay, how would I control my anger? How can I cure myself from that disease? It is narrated that once a man from the deserts of Arabia, he came to visit Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina. So he asked Rasulullah for an advice. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, control your anger. And he didn't tell him anything else. So this man left Medina and went back to his tribe. When he went back to his tribe, he learned that during his trip, when he was away, a group of the youth of his tribe went and plundered over a neighboring tribe. And they went and stole and took many of the money, wealth, and belongings of the people of the other tribes. So, many of you are aware of how the tribal system works. When one tribe attacks the other, there will be fight back. So the youth of the other tribe came and also stole and took and caused a lot of damage to the properties of the first tribe. And things kept going like that while the man was on his trip. When he came back, the situation was so bad that it's not a matter of stealing and destroying properties. Blood was going to come in the middle of these two tribes. Both of them were getting ready for the battle. A battle between two tribes. So that man, when he came, all his people are preparing for a battle against the other tribe. So he became angry at that moment. He became enraged. And he put on his armor and he was getting ready to go to war. On his way, he remembered the advice of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So he slowed down and he started thinking, why are we going to fight? What is the reason for this battle? Is it something that is really worth it? Is it jihad, for example, fi sabilillah, and whatever happens, happens? Is it worth for myself to be killed in a battle like this? Again, in a battle, everything is possible. You either kill or be killed. So is it worth it to be in that situation? He thought to himself. The result of this introspection made him conclude that this is the time for me to apply the advice that Rasulullah gave me. So when they reached, the two armies or the two tribes reached to a place, that man went forward and asked for the chief of the other tribe to come. So he came to see, if there is negotiations, they'll do it. That man softly and in a nice manner and in a courteous manner, he talked to him and said, you are a wise person. You're not someone who is just, your emotions and your desires do not control you. You have wisdom, you have intellect. Why are we fighting here? If you're fighting because some of our youth came and attacked your properties and attacked your houses and, did something bad, did the damages, then we are willing to pay for all the incurred costs and damages that has happened. We're willing to pay for it. When the people of the other tribe heard him, they said, we are not less noble than you. If you are willing to admit for your mistake, then we are more noble and we will also forgive you. And both tribes went back to their places safe without bloodshed. One advice from Rasulullah: control your anger, protected many people from being killed in something that is worthless. Again, if some people, some youth did something wrong, the solution is not to fight. The solution is not bloodshed. There are other ways. But it's the advice of Rasulullah. These advices are pearls of wisdom. Are we gonna take it or are we gonna leave it? Ahlul Bayt salamullahi alayhim, they presented solutions for every circumstance and condition that we're going to face. The issue is, are we willing to apply the teachings of Rasulullah, the teachings of Ahlul Bayt salamullahi alayhim, or we want to play around? We call ourselves Muslims, but we don't want to follow our leader, Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt salamullahi alayhim. This man followed one advice from the advices of Rasulullah and he saw the benefits for it. What about us? If we follow the advices of Rasulullah, what would happen? How will our life turn? The miseries that we're facing every day, can't we make them better? Just by applying the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So the way to cure foolhardiness is to think before acting. Is to always think. Always have your power of intellect in control of your actions. Don't let your desires control you. The difference between human beings and other creatures like animals is that we have the power of intellect. If we don't use the power of intellect, then what differentiates us from other animals? Allah made us the best of His creation because we have that power of rationality, that power of reasoning. If we don't use it, then what's the difference? What's the difference between us and other creatures of God? Now, other creatures would not be accounted because they don't have the power of intellect. But us, we will be accountable for it if we do not use it. So, if one always thinks and uses reason before acting, then foolhardiness will be under control. And one should keep that process going on. I mean, it's not an easy thing. It's easier said than being done. But if one keeps self-accountability, he always self-accounts himself and always tries to keep his rationality controlling him and not letting his desires control, by time, through continuous practice, through continuous use, even in small matters. Sometimes matters are very small. It might not even bring any danger. But if one practices when in the small issues, then when the big issues come in, he will be prepared for it. As long as one reaches to the state of moderation. Once one is in the state of moderation, then he should preserve it. Now the other extreme opposite of the state of excess is the state of deficiency. Now deficiency is called cowardice. Cowardice is fearfulness and nervousness when the situation, when the circumstance calls for immediate violent action. This results in the feeling of inferiority, the feeling of weakness, the feeling of humiliation, subjugation, lack of self-confidence. All this comes from when anger is in the state of deficiency. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to pray to Allah and say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-bukhl wa a'udhu bika min al-jubn. Oh Allah, I seek refuge from miserliness and from cowardice. So when one sees corruption in the society, should he be indifferent or should he be angry? See? That's what differentiates the power of the state of deficiency and the state of moderation. When there is injustice, when there is oppression, when nowadays we see many are being killed, mass murder is happening, should I be indifferent and careless and just quiet? Or should I have that feeling of anger towards injustice, towards the oppression, towards the wrongdoings that are happening? Yes, I might not be able to do something at the moment, but there is a feeling in my heart. Will I have that feeling or not? If I don't have it, that's deficiency in the state of anger. That's cowardice. If I have it, then I'm in a good state. I'm still in the state of moderation. If I see someone's rights are being usurped, what's the feeling that I'm going to have in my heart? Will I have that anger against this oppression? Will I have that anger against this injustice? Or will I just be calm? Nah, I'll be indifferent. This is how one can see himself, is if he is in the state of deficiency or not. That feeling. So one being angry that justice is not being implemented the way that it should be is something that what Ahlul Bayt Salamullahi alayhim taught us. And we are in the days that we're celebrating the memory of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, the birth of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And he's the one who said, Hayhat minna dhilla. Hayhat minna dhilla. There's no humiliation. He stood against injustice. He stood against oppression. That's anger in moderation. When the state requires for one to be angry against injustice and oppression, then one should act. And this is one of the lessons that we can learn from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. But one should keep something in mind. When I feel that anger against injustice, when I feel that anger against oppression, am I doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or am I doing it to satisfy my personal ego, my self-ego? This is something that we should learn from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. In the battle of Al-Khandaq, the battle of the trench, when Amr ibn Wud al-Amiri came and was able to cross the trench, he asked for someone to battle with him, and everyone was afraid. He started making fun. He's like, don't you believe that if you die, you will go to Jannah? Let me send you to Jannah. Why are Muslims afraid? Rasulullah said, who will go and battle with him, fight with him? Everyone was afraid, except Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He stood up, Rasulullah told him to sit down. He asked again, no one responded. Amir al-Mu'mineen stood again, he made him sit down. And the third time he asked, and no one was able, no one answered except Amir al-Mu'mineen Salamullahi alayhi. So then Rasulullah gave him permission to fight, and when he went into the battle, after the battle took place, and of course at that moment Amir al-Mu'mineen was called Al-Iman, he was called faith. When Rasulullah said, بَرَزَ الْإِيمَانُ كُلُّهُ إِلَى الشِّرْكِ كُلَّهُ, all of Iman came to battle all of shirk. So Amir al-Mu'mineen is not mu'min, he is the Iman. I Amir al-Mu'mineen is the scale. I have to scale my iman and see how much did I reach. But he is the iman. That's what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. So he is the iman. When he went to battle and the fight happened, then all of a sudden Muslims saw that Amr ibn Wud is on the ground and Amir al-Mu'mineen is over. Then they noticed Amir al-Mu'mineen just left. He walked away, and after a few minutes he came back and he finished Amr ibn Wud. Muslims later on asked him, "Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, Amr ibn Abd Wud is not a normal person. He is equal to 1,000 soldiers. He is known for his strength and courage. He is brave. He's from amongst the bravest of the Arabs. You had the chance to kill him. Why did you just leave all of a sudden and have a walk and come back? Kill him and then do whatever you want to do." Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi said, this is the lesson that we must take. He said, when I was about to finish him off, he spat on my face. I felt this anger, but I did not want to kill him, and out of revenge for the anger that I had in my heart. So I walked away till my anger cooled down. Then I came back and finished him, so my killing would be for Allah and Allah. That is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ضربة علي يوم الخندق أفضل من عبادة الثقلين. The strike of Ali on the day of Khandaq, the day of the trench, is better than the worship of the Thaqalain, the humans and the jinns. Because it was 100% for Allah. I prayed, but am I always praying for Allah only? Or I pray so someone can see me and say, "Oh, you're a good believer." I try to be good for Allah, or so people would come and say that you're a good person. I give charity, but do I give it only for Allah? Or so people would say this person is generous and he gives back to the community. See, we all do good actions, but do we want to be praised for our good actions? Or we're doing it 100% for Allah? Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, that's what he taught us. He taught us how to be sincere. 100% sincere for Allah. That's what we should have. When we feel anger against any injustice or oppression, we should not do it out of emotion. Emotion only. The emotion is not wrong. But we should have our intellect in control and do it for Allah only. Because Allah hates injustice, I hate injustice too. Because Allah hates oppression, I hate oppression too. That leads us to the third stage, which is the stage of moderation, which is the stage that we are all looking for, the stage that we should all aim for. Because this stage, the stage of moderation, is what turns this anger into courage. When you call a person courageous or brave, it means his anger is in the state of moderation. Because if his anger is in the state of excess, it's not courage, it's foolhardiness. And if it's in the state of deficiency, it's not courage, it is cowardice. Courage is when anger is in the state of moderation. All the noble traits that one can have, valor, courage, bravery, so on and so forth, is when anger is in the state of moderation. What do I mean by anger in the state of moderation? It is when the power of anger is in control, is under the control of the power of intellect. When I have the power of intellect controlling all my emotions, including the power of anger. Many times I become angry, but not because I am aware of it rationally. No, it's out of emotions. That's not moderation. Moderation is when I'm angry after I thought about it, after intellect told me to do it. This means that when rationality and religion, both of them tells me that it is okay to be angry, I become angry. This is when anger is in the state of moderation. When anger is controlled by intellect, then this is the time that I can defend myself, I can defend my family, and I can defend my faith. I can defend Islam. We see these beautiful battles of Amir al-Mu'mineen and how courageous he was in each one of them. And the battle that Ahlul Bayt went through and how they defended Islam in every situation. This only happened, and they're teaching us that. This only happened when anger was in moderation. And of course, the infallible beings, they always have anger in the state of moderation because intellect is always in control. One will not be able to defend Islam properly if his anger is not controlled by his rationality, if his anger is not controlled by his intellect. Because in that state of anger, one is still aware of his duties. Sometimes one becomes angry and he does some injustice. He didn't mean it, but it happens because of anger. That's because anger wasn't in the state of moderation. But when it's in the state of moderation, anger will reach to a situation, but it will not cross to the other side. It will not cross the limits. It will not, he's fully aware of his duties, fully aware of the rights of others, will not transgress on the rights of others. Will not use, for example, foul language, insult, hurt in the haram way. One would not do that out of anger, because anger is being controlled by the intellect. This is a state that is not the easiest to reach, but one should aim for it. One should try. One should persevere. One should work towards it. Because if one fully has control over it, then one can actually defend himself and his religion, Islam. Because at that moment one is able to work within the divine laws of Allah, not within the limits of the divine laws, not outside the limits. It is narrated that once Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he once passed by a large crowd of people, and they were circling a person who was very strong, and he was carrying a huge piece of stone. So everyone was amazed at this man's strength. So Rasulullah came and said, "What's going on?" And everyone was telling him, "Rasulullah, look at this man. He's so strong. This huge piece of stone, no one is able to carry it but him." Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Shall I inform you as to who is the true champion of strength?" Everyone said, "Yes, Ya Rasulullah." He said, "He is the one who does not become enraged when abused. He exhibits tolerance and prevails over his ego and the shaitan within himself." One who does not become enraged when abused, one who exhibits tolerance, and one who prevails over his ego and the shaitan within himself. 3 characteristics. If one has it, then he is the true champion according to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Also once a Syrian man came and saw our second Imam, Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali
He
Muhammad.
was riding a horse, and when that man from Syria, and of course Syria back then was under the rulership of Muawiyah, and Muawiyah never mentioned the merits of Ahlul Bayt salam. Instead, he was the one who initiated cursing of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam on the members. And for 70 years, they were cursing Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi on the member. So, imagine someone who has never seen the Ahlul Bayt salamullah, has been in that area of Sham, and he only heard all these bad things, bad lies of course, about Ahlul Bayt salamullah. He came to Medina and he saw Imam al-Hassan riding a horse. So he immediately started insulting our Imam. He insulted and abused and said all that stuff. The Imam remained quiet. Till this man finished. He cooled down. Then the Imam alayhi salam, he cheerfully greeted him and said, "Old man, I believe that you are a stranger here." Look at the response of our Imam. "I believe that you are a stranger here. Maybe you have confused me with another person." He gave him an excuse. "Maybe you have confused me with another person. Now, if you ask for forgiveness, it is granted for you. I forgive you. That's not an issue. If you ask for means of transportation, you do not have transportation to go back home, I can provide that for you. If you are hungry, thirsty, our homes are known. We feed everyone. We will feed you, we will quench your thirst. Don't worry about it. If you are in need of clothes, we shall clothe you. If you are deprived, we shall give you. If you are running away from someone, you are being sought, we will give you refuge. We will protect you. If you are in need, we shall fulfill your need. So I suggest that you move your caravan towards my house and be my guest till you finish all your needs here in Medina, and then leave." When the man heard the words of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, he immediately apologized to the Imam and he said, "I testify that you are Allah's hire on this earth. Ashhadu annaka waliyullah ala ardi. In Allah ya'lamu haythu yaj'al risalata." Allah knows where He puts His message. The abuses that I've said, the insults that I've said, I should not be responded with the way that you have done. That self-control that you had shows that you are the vicegerent of Allah. You're not a regular person. And then this man became the Imam's guest for his trip. He entered Medina and this man says, "I entered Medina and you, O Hassan, and your father, Ali, were the most hated people in my heart. And now I leave Medina and you, O Hassan, and your father, Ali, are the most beloved people in my heart."
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
These are the benefits of controlling anger. When anger is under the power of intellect, this is what happens. So there are a few tips to control anger. The first tip is to ignore the provocation. Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullahi alayhi, he said to Qambar, his servant, that maintain silence or say the minimum. Both are signs of wisdom. إِذَا تَمَّ الْعَقْلُ قَصُرَ الْكَلَامُ. If intellect, rationality is complete, then words would not be much. saying the minimum. Enhance your self-esteem, for you will not be bothered by what others say or if others try to harm you. Focus on things that are positive. Change the way that you are sitting. If you are standing, then sit. If you are sitting, then lie. If you are still angry, then one should perform ablution with cold water or bath. Do ghusl. For fire can only be extinguished with water. This is a hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Think of Allah's forbearance and pardoning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He can punish us. He can punish us. We have done enough to deserve Allah's punishment and wrath. But don't we see that He is Ghafur Rahim? How forgiving He is, how merciful He is on us. Why don't I learn? And I become also merciful. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, whoever suppresses his anger when he has the power to show it, Allah will give him a great reward. Just as Allah is able to show His anger at any time, yet Allah is merciful. Rasulullah says, if one learns that and suppresses his anger when he has the ability to show it, his reward will be so great. And when the Ma'soom doesn't mention the reward, it means it is so great that it cannot be counted except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Expressing your angry feeling in an assertive manner doesn't mean to be pushy or demanding, but be respectful to yourself and respectful to others. Being assertive is something that is very good. Also, if one becomes angry with his kinsmen, with his relatives, then our fifth Imam, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, he advised that whoever gets angry with his kinsman, let him approach him and pat. That touch. For the feeling of blood relation, when simulated by touch, it will induce calmness. Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, our seventh Imam, when he was in the presence of Harun al-Rashid. Again, Harun al-Rashid is Abbasi. He is a Hashimi from Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet. And Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam is the son of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So there are relatives, even though there is no comparison, but there are relatives at the end. When Imam al-Kadhim entered once upon Harun, Harun was so angry that he wanted to kill the Imam. The Imam touched Harun, and immediately Harun cooled down. This advice by Imam al-Baqir was practiced, implemented by Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam too. So it really does affect. If there is a problem between two kinsmen, relatives, a pat, a touch would really calm the other person down. And when the person calms down, then, when the power of anger and rage cools down, then intellect will come back again. And things can be solved. Finally, I would like to conclude with a dua by our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin. And this dua is the dua to restrain anger. To restrain anger. The Imam says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa alih, wa hullani bihilyati as-salihin, wa albisni zinat al-muttaqeen. O Allah, bless Muhammad and his household. Adorn me with the adornment of the righteous, and clothe me in the ornaments of God-fearing. Fi basṭ al-'ahd, through spreading justice. Wa kadhm al-ghayth, restraining rage. Wa itfā' al-nā'ira, quenching the flame of hate. Wa līn al-'arīka, and the mildness of temper. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.